Welcome to a special edition of the Will and Walker podcast. I'm Will, and with me today is
Stella.
And we are coming to you from
Rainy, Beardstown, Illinois.
Rainy, yes. It has been raining most of the morning today, so
Yeah.
Everything's wet, so we can't do anything outside right now, and we're just sitting around the house. I have a little bit of knife work to do, but we decided that we're going to record our first podcast together, and we're going to use the Will and Walker podcast platform because Stella has something that she really wants to talk about, and that is
Hamilton.
She loves Hamilton, and I'm not real familiar with Hamilton. I watched a little bit of it, and we're going to have her go through and explain to us what it is about the musical that she likes and some other things. But so first off, why don't you share with our listeners what the musical is basically about?
Well, it's about one of our founding fathers, Alexander Hamilton. He was kind of forgotten, and no one really knows how much he did for America. And
what did he do for America?
He helped. I think he established one of the first national banks. Or at least he tried to, and he wanted to.
Okay. Was he on the Declaration of Independence? You don't know? Well, you
No,
just say you don't know. I don't know either.
I don't know. He might be.
He was never the president, though, was he?
No, he was never the president because he was going to be, but then he told everybody that he had broken the law, so he could not be president.
Oh, he broke, and you learned that from the musical that he broke. That all that went down.
Yeah.
Okay. So Hamilton is a big. It's very popular. It was popular on Broadway, and they decided to record it. And now they're playing it on Disney Plus, which is where you got to watch it.
Yeah.
So, what is so appealing about the musical Hamilton?
Well, I like it because history is one of my favorite subjects in school, and it's just like, I don't know, I like the speed of it. It's all music, so there's no talking, and I really like it.
Okay. That was part of the reason that I couldn't really get excited about it, was that there was no dialogue. It was all speaking. So that kind of lost me, because some of it I can't even understand. They talk so fast.
Yeah.
Like really, really fast. Mm-hmm. Which part of that is pretty neat because it's very rhythmic, for one thing, which I did like that part, but I couldn't really follow the story because I couldn't really follow when they were talking so fast. I couldn't catch it all. It was just more like rhythm.
Yeah, it's hard at the beginning. Like when I first watched it, I was like, what in the world are they saying? But soon I learned the lyrics to the songs, and now I know what they sing, and it makes sense now.
Okay. And you own the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you listen to it a lot.
Yeah.
How many times did you listen to it while you were on vacation?
Well, it's 2 hours and 40 minutes, and I listened to the entire thing 13 times.
So 2 hours and 30 minutes of music.
Yep.
And you listened to it 13 times.
Yep.
You were gone how many days?
9 days.
You were gone 9 days. So you spent at least 2.5 hours every day, more or less, listening to music.
Yeah.
But I guess there was some driving time. So how many times did you listen to it while you were in the car?
About, I think, 10 times.
10 times. So you only listened to it 3 times when you were at the condo.
Yeah, I mainly just listened to it when I was just hanging around up in my bunk bed. I was just like, I don't know what to do. So
So you listen to music. Did you do anything while you were listening to the music, or like were you playing games on your tablet, or
No, I really
you just
just
sat there and listened to the music?
yeah, I just sat there. I looked out the window because there were some cool things to look outside. Yeah, nothing else, I don't think.
Okay. So that's a lot. So you basically you could probably sing the whole thing, couldn't you?
Yeah,
The
probably.
main, at least the main songs, maybe not some of the dialogue, but
Yeah.
they probably don't have the dialogue on the soundtrack. It's just all the main musical
Yeah.
compositions.
There's only a couple of like stuff that there's not very much stuff that they didn't put on the soundtrack because it's basically all music.
Yeah, yeah. So the dialogue is more like rap,
Yeah.
which I'm not a big fan of rap, but I can appreciate it that it is a musical talent. Just yeah, I don't know how they talk so fast.
Yeah.
You were watching a video that was explaining how fast some of the lyrics were put out there, I guess. So what are some of the how fast were they actually reciting the lyrics?
Well, when Lafayette sings in Guns and Ships, he is singing 6 words per second.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
6 words per second. So in 30 seconds, that's 360 words.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And they also said something too about it. If those portions were actually dialogue instead of lyrics, and they were talking at a normal pace, the music would have lasted 5 hours or something.
Yeah.
I think they said
4 to 6.5
4 to 6
hours.
Yeah. So that's. I mean, there is a lot of information in the musical when you watch it. So it's pretty impressive. And I think the set is pretty cool. I've been to a couple of musicals back when it was called Sangamon State University, but it's now University of Illinois at Springfield. I watched a couple of musicals there. I think I watched The Music Man. I watched Brigadoon, and there was one more. But I always thought it was cool how they can just have one room and tell an entire story in that one room by changing the set a little bit and things. I think that's cool. I also watched Fiddler on the Roof when we lived in Indiana. Your mom and I went to the high school there. Their Frankfurt High School put on Fiddler on the Roof because they had 3 students who were siblings who played violin, and it was crazy. I've never been to a high school that had an auditorium with an orchestra pit. That was cool. I do enjoy musicals. So
Yeah.
So you were telling me something before we got on the podcast. You were telling me something about a character that not everyone knows about or doesn't notice, or explain that part to me again.
Well, it's a girl who is in the ensemble, but she actually plays a really important part. Her nickname is the Bullet. She does a lot of important stuff. Mainly, though, she is the person who holds the bullet when Aaron Burr fires at Alexander Hamilton.
So yeah, I'll stop you there first because I did watch this part when you were watching the video I think they were talking about this. That part I thought was really neat because yes, Aaron Burr fires a shot, and then all of a sudden it seems like everything goes in slow motion, and the bullet is captured by this person in the ensemble, and they slowly take it across the stage, right, towards Alexander Hamilton. And the whole time Alexander Hamilton is thinking, there's a bunch of stuff going through his head while this bullet is traveling towards him. I thought that part of the musical was really neat.
Yeah, he was thinking about like what he was going to do and like if he should take the shot or fire at Aaron Burr or not.
Yeah, because there was a thing. They were in a duel. Back then, you settled things with guns, and there was if you had a dispute, you could duel, but you didn't necessarily have to shoot the other person. You could just shoot your pistol up in the air. I think, right, or was it down in the ground?
I think it was either one, but in Hamilton they mainly shot it at the sky.
Shot at the sky. Yeah. So if you didn't necessarily, you could disagree and you could have a duel, but you didn't necessarily go into the duel thinking, well, I'm going to kill this guy. I'm just going to fire in the air. And then, the dispute is over. So,
Yeah.
But Aaron Burr shoots him.
Yeah, because he didn't like that Hamilton didn't choose him to be president. He didn't vote for him. Okay. So, yeah.
So Aaron Burr had an axe to grind.
Yeah, he was really he said in one of the songs that he was slow to anger, but he was still very angry.
Gotcha. Okay. So, what else does this person in the ensemble, the Bullet, do? What else are things that they're doing throughout the production that people may or may not notice?
Well, she is the person who goes up to King George and tells him who might be the next president, which is John Adams. And Hamilton originally worked for John Adams, but John Adams fired him. I can't remember what for, but he fired him, and the Bullet was the person who told King George that he might be the next president. But he didn't end up being the next president. Thomas Jefferson was the next president, but...
Okay. Was there anything else they did?
Oh yeah, she was in the beginning of the musical in Aaron Burr, Sir, when John Lawrence, Hercules Mulligan, and Lafayette were all singing about like who they were. She was the Bullet was staring at John Lawrence, and then she went to go sit in the table behind them, and she looked like back at him, and yeah.
What was that? What was that for?
She was staring at him, knowing that he was going to die at some point, and
so she symbolized death.
Yeah, she was. She's also sometimes called the dancer of death, because like when she always danced before somebody was going to die, she always danced close to them. So she is kind of like death, like right beside them.
Interesting, like the Grim Reaper.
Yeah,
because the characters in the show didn't see her. She wasn't a character that was seen by the people in the story.
Yeah, no one really knew who she was. They thought she was just this random person, or they didn't even see her.
Yeah,
so.
I bet they didn't even see her. So she was only seen by the audience, and she was more or less not visible to the cast or the people in the story.
Yeah.
So, what else about Hamilton can you share that would explain to other people why they should watch it?
Well, it's very interesting. It is a very interesting story. I just think it's a cool musical. It's also really funny. They have a bunch of really funny parts in it.
King George is probably the main
King George is
of
one of my favorite characters, because
he was pretty funny. I remember watching a part where his song, and it reminded me that back then a lot of countries were ruled by kings, and in the United States they chose to have a president who was elected, who gave up their power at the end of their term and gave it to someone else. And the song was about King George telling the United States, "Hi, you're on your own," and then something about the president or having a new president, and he's like, "Well, you can do that? I can give up my power." That doesn't make any sense. How would that work?
Yeah, he was like, "Oh, I didn't know anybody could do that."
Yeah, and I think that's one of the greatest things about our political system and our form of government is that when a president is done with his term, he gives up his office without confrontation. There might be some back and forth when they're campaigning, and there might be some bad things said about the other or whatever. But when that day comes, when a new president is inaugurated, the old president leaves and doesn't burn the White House down. He just packs his things and goes.
Yeah.
And there's a peaceful transition of power from the outgoing president to the incoming president. And I think that's one of the greatest things about our country that we can. That's something we should celebrate, no matter what side of the aisle we choose to be on, and what politics we, choose to get involved with. It's important that this country was founded on some principles, and that being one of them. That it's important that we can still be a country that is effectively run by a different person. And there doesn't have to be a government overthrow. There doesn't have to be a military coup. It's just this guy got voted out. He's gone. So then here comes a new one. So let's see what we do here. So
Yeah.
All right. So what else about Hamilton can you share that would be interesting? It's on Disney Plus.
Yeah, it's
So if
on
you have
Disney Plus.
You can watch it there.
I watch it. I try and watch at least a part of it every day. Like,
All right. But you also watch YouTube videos about
Yeah.
Hamilton.
there's this video I've watched that's 22 things that you did not notice, that you probably didn't notice in Hamilton. And I'm trying to think of something interesting from that video.
I thought all the statistics about how fast some of the lyrics were recited, I think those were cool.
Yeah.
Cool facts.
I didn't know that they sung that fast.
Yeah,
Like,
it's pretty fast. What about the set? I thought that the set was kind of cool. What was unique about the set that you can tell people that haven't watched it?
well, so the set starts out as it kind of looks like it's been being under construction, because it was back when people were just starting to build new big places, and they were making progress. And actually, during intermission, the back walls grow bigger to show the progress that people were making in
Right.
in building these things.
So a main portion of the set in the beginning is old wooden scaffolding. So it's almost like a balcony that goes around the stage. And then behind it are like walls that are being constructed because it was during the birth of or shortly after the birth of our nation, and things are being built, and we're building infrastructure and building buildings. And like you said, during the intermission, they would drop in more panels that would make it look like progress is being made on those walls.
Yeah.
What about the floor?
Well, the floor is cool because it actually has some turntables on it, so like they can spin around whenever. And when they go clockwise, that is a sign of the future and like it moving incorrectly in time. But when it goes counterclockwise, that is going back into the past. Like in Satisfied, it goes counterclockwise. So because it feels like you're going into Angelica's mind and thinking she like made a mistake, and she was like, why did I do that? And and they reenact like that whole entire part, and it's really cool.
Yeah, so she's like isn't she in the center?
Yeah, she's in the center,
yeah.
and everybody else is like, everybody's dancing to make it feel like you're going back into the past.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
That was neat too. I remember seeing that while you were watching it, but I also saw it when you were watching the YouTube video, and I thought it was really cool because the person in the center was remembering things and remembering the past, and so that turntable that would spin, and all the people were going in a counterclockwise motion, and it almost looked like things were being rewound, and you could kind of, it was like you were looking into her brain. And then I know it was on the ones where it was going clockwise, it was kind of a similar deal where someone was thinking, well, what if this could, what if this happened, and it was kind of going fast forward and going forward in time. So I thought that set element was really neat how they used that.
It's really cool. It's just really cool to imagine it, because it's either they're thinking of the past or they're thinking of the future. So like it feels like, it kind of just feels like when you fast forward into like a movie, it would be like you're just fast forwarding into life. It's cool.
Yeah. And didn't was the duel between Aaron Burr and Alexander Hamilton, was that the last scene, or was there another scene after that? I can't remember.
That was the last time. And
so I remember catching a glimpse of it. Aaron Burr was kind of on the left side of the stage. Alexander Hamilton was kind of on the right. Was the turntables moving then, or was it stationary? I can't remember.
It was moving clockwise, because you were still going into the future, because the bullet was still traveling.
Yeah.
So he was thinking
I thought that, yeah.
And it was going clockwise. So.
I thought it was. I thought I remembered seeing that. I thought that was neat too. Is that because it was a slow. I mean, it was just a slow rotation. So, and with Alexander Hamilton's dialogue, you could. I mean, it was what his thoughts were, and as the bullet is traveling across the stage towards him, I thought that was kind of a pretty powerful scene.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's see. What time are we at here? I got to check the screen went off. Here we go. We're at 23 minutes. Pretty good there, sis.
Yeah.
For your first time on a podcast. Anything else you want to share before we wrap up?
Well, if you can watch Hamilton, I very much recommend it.
All right. Yes, if you watch Hamilton based on Stella's recommendation, we would really like to hear from you. What your thoughts are, and feel free to post those on the Will and Walker podcast listeners Facebook group. That would be really cool.
Yeah,
we could get, if you get to watch Hamilton and you kind of had the same thoughts, or even if you had different thoughts, go ahead and share those on that Facebook group page. That's kind of why we had it. So, and then we'll be sure to share it with Stella, because she's not on Facebook yet. But I'll read her any posts or input or feedback that we have. So I want to thank you for listening to this podcast. It's not today's, because we're going to probably do another one later on with Walker. But this special edition podcast with Stella on the subject of Hamilton the musical. And we'd like to encourage you to check out our Facebook group page. Again, it's Facebook, and it's Will and Walker podcast listeners. Have a chance for our listeners to interact with us, and also interact with each other and talk about different things. So that'll do it for us right now, and we'll let you go. And we thank you again for joining us. See you next time.